Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericashow.com. Almost through the week. It's Thursday. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're a regular watcher of the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Help us spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty. So many exciting things going on over here at the Wake Up America show. I hardly know what to talk about first, but I guess we'll have to talk about the news because that's why you're here. Donald Trump absolutely dominated at the CNN town hall last night. Sorry if you're a Trump hater. Today is not your day on the show. Have to come back tomorrow because credit is always offered where it's due. I have some of the absolute best moments, the juiciest moments from the CNN town hall last night. I have to say, we've got to give credit and props to Donald Trump. Well done. Donald Trump 1, CNN 0. I gotta say, I'm very much feeling
From
this
now
today.
on, it's going to be
Yes.
America first, okay? America first.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was so good that I almost felt like,
I'm gonna come.
oh, yes, Donnie boy. The Wake Up America show is brought to you by our sponsors over at Shell Shock CBD. We're going to talk to John Burke. I spoke to him yesterday. I'm going to play that interview again for you today. He is generously sponsoring the Wake Up America show with his awesome line of CBD and Delta 8 products. Make sure you check those out at shellshockcbd.com and use that promo code AP for Liberty to get 10% off your order. Remember, it's a money-back guarantee. You don't like it, you can send it back. All right, let's talk about what's going on in the news. So, yes, obviously we're going to talk about the Donald Trump town hall, and I've got the clip to play. At 7:30, I'll play the interview that I did with John Burke for you. And at 7:51, a marketing guru says that Budweiser's iconic commercials, the company's destroyed 20 years of hard marketing work. I was reading through my old guerrilla marketing book that I had from about 6 or 7 years ago, something that I've always used to be able to try and grow my my business and my presence. And boy, Budweiser really screwed the pooch. It real good true marketing lasts decades, and it can be destroyed overnight. We're going to talk about some of that and the principles of marketing this morning. Make sure that you don't miss that. We'll be there at 7:51. At 8 a.m. this morning, Camelia Peterson, she says she'll reschedules for tomorrow. Oh, just kidding. Yeah, guess what? We got to be on the show tonight, so you're going to have to stick around with us today. At 8:30 today, Daniela Pensack will be joining us. Yes. A judge ruled that a transgender person was not guilty of displaying his bait and tackle to women in a locker room because the person was too fat, apparently, for them to have shown their jibbly bits to the ladies. Too fat. That's what the judge ruled. The judge ruled that, yes, the person was there, but they weren't trespassing because they were too fat to have shown their stuff. So it's yikes. There we go. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, let's get to the Trump CNN town hall clips and have some fun because I got to say, credit where it's due. I've always said if Donald Trump does a good job, then he deserves credit. Let's see what he did at the town hall last night. Take a listen.
What happened on that day?
You said you weren't. Say that.
He has testified that.
He did not say.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about that speech that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
Dude, he's got receipts. Good move, Donnie boy.
So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now I use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on
Good plug.
I hope everybody's on Truth. If you look January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth, and I'm staying on Truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early.
Mr. President, I looked at the same timeline that you did.
No, I know, but you didn't report that. You know why? Because it was taken down.
We did report it. I was reporting that day.
It was taken down and it wasn't.
But when it was clear.
I love it. I got to say, well done, Donnie boy. Bringing receipts always helps. Reporter didn't like that. And a lot of people are saying this morning online that CNN really screwed the pooch on this one, and they will not be making this mistake again. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing that trending over on Twitter today is done with CNN. These are the same people who 1 week ago were calling out conservatives, saying things like, "Oh, I can't believe you're going to boycott a beer over transgender, blah, blah, blah." And then all of a sudden it's like, boycott CNN, boycott CNN. Oh, man, these people, they make no sense. It's the left, though. What do you expect? I got to say, well done there, Mr. President. And this next point, I think, probably one of his finest moments there on the CNN town hall. I know, Chris, you're grinding your teeth over there in the live stream, but you can do it. You can make it through this show. This is probably, if not his finest moment, maybe his second finest moment last night. Take a listen to this.
3 hours, over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. At blank range, cold blank range, they shot her, and she was a good person. She was a patriot. There was no reason. There was no reason. And he went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed her, but
bragging.
one person who was at...
Dang, dude, dang. Calling officers thugs, calling them out for bragging about killing Ashley Babbitt right there on live TV. See, she's hating that. What I'd like to ask you for a moment, because I know that sometimes it's hard when you're watching an interview to focus on both people and how they're reacting and stuff like that. So I want to replay this clip again. It's only 30 seconds. But instead of focusing on what Donald Trump was saying, I want you to focus on how the CNN reporter is reacting to what he's saying. That's how you know he's got him, and he's got him good. Focus more on the Caitlin Collins here in the white suit and what she's saying, how she's reacting to what he's saying, because you can tell she does not like the direction this is going. Credit to where it's due, Mr. Trump.
3 hours, over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. At blank range, cold blank range, they shot her, and she was a good person. She was a patriot. There was no reason. There was no reason, and he went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed her, but
bragging.
one person who was at the...
Oh, look at that. Look who's back in the blue now. Oh, look who's back in the blue right now. Isn't that interesting? I got to say, conservatives still backing the blue in 2023 is a big old cope. But give credit to the president for coming out against the murder of Ashley Babbitt and calling out the cop who did it. That was a really good moment. And this might have been the absolute finest moment. I know it's fingernails on the chalkboard for the Trump haters out there, but you know what? Like I said, I support Donald Trump when he's right and never when he's wrong. And when he's right, he's right. Take a listen to this next clip.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
What a question. Come on, please. All right. What a question. Do you want Ukraine to win this war? The left is so enmeshed, and it's all back to that whole Russian collusion conspiracy. They are so triggered by Russia these days. They really, because of 2016. They're still, what's funny is that the left accuses the right of the obsessing about the 2020 election. The left is still obsessing about the 2016 election when Hillary Clinton got beaten by Donald Trump. You know how triggered they were? They were double triggered because the Democrat lost. But the second reason for the triggering, the doubling of the triggering, is because it was beat a woman. And so people like CNN and Caitlin Collins, they can't handle that. They can't handle that. That's why all of this obsession with Russia and Ukraine, it all goes back to that moment, that 2016 moment, when their diversity hire for president of the United States got spanked by Donald Trump. Take a listen to this.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war? Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying, Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the power of the presidency to do it.
That is a good answer. That is a good answer for that. Honestly, I mean, you could say it's political, whatever you want, but I mean, that is a brilliant answer. And honestly, if you're an anti-war, nonpartisan, that's a pretty good answer for people who really just want the conflict to end. They want the fighting to stop. They want the killing to stop. But see, CNN demands that you pick a side, that you come in on one side or the other. And the way that Donald Trump handled that, I feel, was absolutely beautiful. I love my buddy Phil Labonte over there at All That Remains. He and I have been sharing and retweeting each other a lot. We love Phil. A lot of my friends and people who would love to come on the show, the only reason why they don't is they just can't get their butts up or this early. It's just too early for them. But speaking of getting up early, if you don't mind getting up early, I am hiring over here at the Wake Up America show. It's time for us to get to grow grow the company and grow the business and grow the show. And I honestly could use a reliable pair of hands around here. My wife has been coming in, or my buddy Dual Lauderdale's been coming in, trying to fill in the gaps while we try and grow the show. But I could really use somebody who is looking for something a little bit more permanent. And if you'd like to join us over here at the Wake Up America show, and you're interested in video production, digital marketing, and if you're interested in memeing and things like that, I'd love to get your resume and your cover letter. Perhaps this could be your dream job. Who knows? You can send your resume and your cover letter to me at AUSTIN at StonegateLLC.com. And Stonegate is spelled StoneGateLLC.com. Let's see if I can actually pull up the advertisement for you. I'm pretty sure I've got it pinned to my Twitter. Again, you can text the show if you're interested as well at 573-319-1586. There you go. Now hiring digital media associate at Stonegate Pictures LLC. Pay is commensurate with experience. I will train, however. You could be part or full-time. It would be great if you lived in mid-Missouri or could move to mid-Missouri, Jefferson City area preferred, because that's where we film. You'll co-produce this talk show with me starting at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday, studio maintenance, interacting with guests, content scheduling, meme making, email writing, leveraging artificial intelligence to grow social networks, product creation, and things like that. If you can spell, if you have good grammar, if you are punctual, and if you're willing to learn or know Adobe Premiere, Photoshop, and Audition, then email your resume and cover letter to that email on the screen, AUSTIN at StonegateLLC.com. Hit us up with a resume and a cover letter why you think you should be the person to get the job, and we will consider you for potential hire. Okay, what do you think about that? Great. Phil Labonte says, now we're laughing at you too in response to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's response to the CNN town hall last night. Here's what she had to say. She says, CNN should be ashamed of themselves. They have lost total control of this town hall to again be manipulated into platforming election disinformation, defenses of January 6th, and a public attack on a sexual abuse victim. Please. The audience is cheering him on and laughing at the host. Yes, it's true. They were. Honestly, I think Donald Trump probably made a really good move in the negotiations for this town hall. My guess is that Trump likely negotiated to allow some of his supporters to be in the audience, which is very good foresight, because in order for you to look like you won a debate, you have to have an audience that confirms that you won the debate, at least in many people's eyes, because it's very difficult to stand out from a crowd if everybody's going along with something and you hear like a majority of people behaving in a certain way. Most people, not you, but listeners to this show, typically more free thinkers, but most people are go along, get along. So if there have been lots of boos and jeers and all that kind of stuff, more people's opinion would have been affected by that. So Trump was smart to try and get some of his supporters in the audience, because it definitely made it look like he was dunking on them, maybe more than he was. But I actually thought it absolutely was a slam dunk last night for him. Take a listen to this.
Never met this woman. I never saw this woman.
This is in regards to the sexual assault allegations, or I guess the civil trial that he lost this last week. He will be appealing, though. Take a listen.
I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this.
So Trump right here is explaining the scenario that he was accused of assaulting a woman. And remember, accused of assaulting, the civil case came out. They said that he did assault her. However, they said specifically that he did not grape her. I do want to say very briefly, I see we've got a pretty big audience over there on Rumble right now. Good morning. Nice to see you all here today, and a good-sized audience over on YouTube. Make sure you smash that like button if you're enjoying the content of the Wake Up America show. And for our Rumblers over there, if you're not subscribed to the AP for Liberty channel over on Rumble, please do so. Of course, you can do that on YouTube as well. All right, let's continue with the content.
It's great chemistry. And a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door. So she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President,
Ouch. Oh, my God, dude, shutting her down.
But let me just, if I could, because you asked the question.
This was a
just
jury,
so you understand,
though.
if I was walking in at the park, because I was very famous then, and I owned the Plaza Hotel right next door, and I owned buildings around it, I'm not going into a dressing room of a crowded department store. Then I say, if she was being raped, and by the way, they said she wasn't raped, okay? That was her charge. It wasn't.
They found that you sexually abused her.
No, what? Say what? They did. They said he didn't rape her. And
They did not
I didn't
say
do
he
anything else either. You know what? Because I have no idea who the hell she is.
But Mr.
I
President,
don't know who this woman
can I
is.
ask you, given your recounting
I
your
don't know
version,
who, and I tell you this.
But Mr.
Are
President,
you ready?
can I
swear
ask
on
you
my children, which I'd never do. I have no idea who this woman. This is a fake story, made up story. We had a horrible Clinton-appointed judge. He was horrible. He allowed her to put everything in. He allowed us to put nothing in.
Mr. President,
this is a
you're
fake
recounting your version
story.
of.
Right. Do I think that the president committed the crime that he's accused of there? Honestly, I don't. I'm going to tell you, as somebody who's never been like a big Trump MAGA guy, right? I give credit where it's due, and I criticize him plenty. I don't think he did this, and not necessarily even because of the reasons that he stated here in this CNN town hall, that he wouldn't do something right there in full public, just go into a dressing room with a woman that he just met at Bergdorf Goodman minutes later, who is 60 years old. And I mean, some of you are not going to like what I have to say, what I have to hear about this, but the fact is that Donald Trump could get lots of beautiful women, okay? He doesn't he's probably not going to want to disappear into a dressing room with a 60-year-old lady. That's not to try and do a slide against 60-year-old ladies. Plenty of lovely 60-year-old ladies out there. But knowing Donald Trump and the type of person he is, I find that very hard to believe, that he meets some 60-year-old woman at the door of Bergdorf Goodman, and then in full view of the public right there on the first floor goes into a dressing room, of which most of them are locked, but the one just happened to be unlocked, and this woman that he just met takes him into this dressing room, and then he assaults her. I'm not buying it. I think that he's probably right about the judge, that the judge was a Clinton-appointed judge. She was a senator, I believe, at the time that this judge was appointed. And I think that it was a witch hunt. I agree. And honestly, right here, I think that he really slam dunks her in this clip as well. Take a listen.
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Damn, dude. Jeez. She's like in the back of her head right now. How dare you? The executives at CNN are like watching this in the control room, just being like,
No, God, please, no, no.
They're like panicking and just screaming and running around. Judge Knapp says he knows the judge in this case and that he'd done a good job. Quest, no, I'm pretty sure that the judge had quite a bit of criticisms about the way that the case was handled. Quest, when we spoke to him on Wednesday, I'll have to bring my memory back up there for just a moment. But dude, this right here is just absolute slam.
You held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Dude, I mean, I gotta say though, Byron Donalds yesterday, I think, wins the whole thing because in his reaction to the CNN town hall, he was talking about the real issues. Take a listen to this.
Even if you listen to the last segment with Jake, everything that was just talked about is not on the minds of independent voters in America. They are focused on the things that are affecting their families. First and foremost, has my child actually caught up from being locked out of schools for 2 years? Is fentanyl, which is a major issue in so many communities around our country, is the president going to do the job of securing our border and stopping the drug cartels from having operational control of our southern border? Are we going to maintain the dollar as the world's reserve currency while China's trying to negotiate around the United States? Inflation, yes, the year-over-year number is trending down, but the impact of inflation on the American family has completely devalued their wages over the last 2 years. Those are the things that really matter to Americans. Even if you listen to the last segment with Jay.
Oh, right there. Well done, Byron Donalds. And this is the substance, right? This is what we want from our Republican candidates. This is what I want to hear from. He is the congressman, husband, father, follower of Christ, proudly serving Southwest Florida, fighting for freedom, liberty, the Second Amendment, and school choice. Good for you, Byron Donalds. Let me give you a follow right there. One more round of applause. Again, this is what I want to hear from our Republican officials. Now, if you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thankful to have you here as a watcher and listener. And I'm excited to see we've got a nice big audience, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, over 100 people watching us today between Rumble and on YouTube. And we are growing as well on a brand new social network. The Spreely app will be growing on the Freedom Hub Network. It's a new free speech network that John Burke hooked me up with. I'm really excited to be sponsored by John Burke's Shell Shock CBD company. Delta 8 and CBD products available at shellshockcbd.com. If you use my code AP for Liberty over at Shell Shock CBD, you can get a 10% discount. And all of these products are guaranteed. And if you do not like them, you can send them back for a free refund. Of course, absolutely. So head over to shellshockcbd.com today and use that code AP for Liberty. And I'll just tell you, I was skeptical about the Delta 8 stuff, but all I got to say is you better have some free time on your hands before you take Delta 8. It will shell shock you, that's for sure. Again, check out my awesome sponsor, shellshockcbd.com/ use that code AP for Liberty for 10% off. All right, because we've got so many people who are watching us right now this morning, I'm going to do what a lot of successful news companies do, and that is I'm going to, for those people who have not seen these clips, I'm going to repeat them. Yes, we're going to be playing some of these clips again and analyzing them again this morning because I think, of course, it's important for the people who are tuning in for this topic to hear what was said. Let's start by talking about how Donald Trump pulled out the receipts when he was asked about January 6th and how CNN and the left, of course, have accused him of inciting violence. Here's how Donald Trump responded to those allegations. Take a listen to this.
Back to what happened on that day.
He
You said
did
you
not
weren't.
say that.
He has testified that, Mr. President.
He did not say that.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about
True,
that
of
speech
course.
that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at
Smart.
on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on Truth. if you look, January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on truth, and I'm staying on truth. Listen.
It's a great plug, Donald Trump. Scott Halloween over on Rumble says, Trump did a great job of not getting flustered. I'd have wrapped her right in the snot box. Sheesh. Very funny. The Zimbabwean this morning says, Byron is a black conservative hero. Yes, he absolutely is. Appreciate that. About 70 people or so watching us over on Rumble today. Very exciting. And then we've got 34, 35 over on YouTube. So 70, 80, 90. Oh, I'm counting about 100 people watching us this morning, give or take. And of course, there's also Facebook and our friends over on the Spreely app this morning. Good morning to you all as well. Grateful to have you. It's nice to see the Wake Up America show audience growing and building and getting bigger and better every day. We're talking about the Donald Trump CNN town hall last night. I got to say that this might actually be a good time, very briefly, to remind you that apforlibertyshop.com does have a really hot seller and a limited inventory of our Donald Trump toilet brushes. If you're a fan of Donald Trump, my buddy Dual Lauderdale is going to drop that link for you over there for the product. You can click on it and get yourself a Donald Trump toilet brush, whether you're a Trump lover or a Trump hater. Everybody seems to love this toilet brush. So Dual, do me a favor, grab the link to the Donald Trump toilet brush and drop it over there in the YouTube and the comments section over on Rumble for our friends in case they want to get one, because I've only got a few. Remember, all shipping is free from apforlibertyshop.com. Let's continue with the Donald Trump subjugation domination. Here's one of his finest moments from the CNN town hall last night. Take a listen.
Yeah, 3 hours, over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her at blank range.
Dude, he called a cop a thug. What era are we living in? This is wild. This is wild. My wife says I use toilet brushes a lot. Sorry about that. Taking man-sized poops. What can I say? Let's continue.
Range, cold blank range. They shot her, and she was a good person. She was a patriot. There was no reason. There was no reason, and he went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed her, but
bragging.
one person who was at the
Look at her throwing up chaff. Throwing up chaff. Oh, my God. They are so desperate to maintain the narrative. The CNN town hall executives, again, I've been in these control rooms before in these studios, and like they look like you're kind of like on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. If you know anything about Star Trek, it's like Captain Picard is sitting there like, make it so, right? But instead, I guess it's not Jeffrey Zucker anymore because he's not there at CNN. But I guarantee you, the executives over at town hall, the town hall, were panicking in the control room. They were screaming and running around. Fires were going off. I mean, there was crying. I promise you. It was bad. It was bad for them. It looked really bad. But honestly, this was maybe not his finest moment, because this here, the response to the questions related to the war in Ukraine, where CNN was pushing him, trying to get him to take a side, I think Trump handled this masterfully and well. Take a listen.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
good answer. I'll bet you, look at there. I bet you some of these people who are applauding right there are liberals. Like, look at this lady right there with a really pinched nose in the face. You can tell she's very unhappy. And they are absolutely liberals, right? But they liked that answer. Again, and they're trying to nail him down. He is just lobbing it right back at him.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country.
Great answer. Great answer.
Can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that, because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the power of the presidency to.
I'll have that done in 24 hours. Now, as Duel was saying earlier in the live stream, that if he could pull that off, he absolutely deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. Because here's the thing. I think that if Donald Trump had remained the president, that Putin probably would not have done that. Not because he would have negotiated a deal so much as he probably would have thought of him like Richard Nixon as the crazy bastard. I think Putin probably would have been more afraid. Who's afraid of the United States now with the commander in dip that we have right now? Joe Biden. Listen to this guy.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to
I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door. So she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes, you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President, can I...
I
know you're recounting what she said, but Mr. President...
Let me just, if I could, because you asked the question.
This was a
just
jury,
so you understand,
though.
if I was walking in at the park, because I was very famous then, and I owned the Plaza Hotel right next door, and I owned buildings around it, I'm not going into a dressing room of a crowded department store. Then I say, if she was being raped, and by the way, they said she wasn't raped. Okay, that was her charge. It wasn't.
They found that you sexually abused her.
That was her charge.
Say what they did. They said he didn't rape her, and I didn't do anything else either. You know what? Because I have no idea who the hell she is.
But Mr. President,
I don't know who this woman
can I
is.
ask you, given your recounting
I
your
don't
version?
know who, and I tell you this.
But Mr.
Are
President,
you ready?
can I
swear
ask
on
you
my children, which I'd never do. I have no idea who this woman. This is a fake story, made up story. We had a horrible Clinton-appointed judge. He was horrible. He allowed her to put everything in. He allowed us to put nothing in.
Mr. President,
this is a
you're recounting your version.
I believe him. I believe him. What about you? I'm going to briefly go over to an interview that I did yesterday with my friend John Burke to talk to him a little bit about Tucker Carlson is going to be doing his show again. Despite that contract that he had with Fox News. How's he going to get out of that? Have no idea. Anyways, when we get back from the next segment, I'm going to speak to Camelia Peterson. Camelia and I are going to have her respond to the CNN Town Hall, and then we're going to talk about why God hates tattoos. We'll be back with more of the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. How are you feeling today? Good. Well, I'm glad the studio audience is so fired up. How about the audience out there on the live stream? So I can't hear you. There's only one way to let us know that you like what you're hearing and seeing today, and that's to click that like button on any of the networks that you're watching us today, and I'd be super grateful. Help us spread the message of economic freedom and personal liberty, as well as the principles of free speech, which is what my next guest is going to join us to talk about. His name is John Burke. He's the All-American Savage. He's got his own show and his own awesome business, which I'm excited to introduce to you today, Shell Shock CBD. John Burke now joining us on the show. Good morning, John. Thanks for joining us.
Brother, how are you doing today?
Doing good. What did you think of the news of Tucker Carlson going from a mainstream news network, hundreds of millions of dollars, tons of money invested into him. He gets canned. He goes to work for Twitter. I mean, he's basically stepping into our space, right? I guess come on in. The water's fine. How do you feel?
I love it. I like the idea that he's going to go do his own thing. I think a lot of people they're fed up with Fox. They're fed up with CNN. Everybody's getting sick of the same MSM garbage from both sides. It's just that they kind of say that, Fox leans more conservative. No, they're a bunch of shills as well. I like what he's doing. Didn't see it coming. I mean, did you see that coming?
No idea. Yeah, no, it shocked me, honestly. But when he was talking to Elon Musk the other day, I kind of felt like something was up. But now it looks as if, I mean, this could be the death knell for the mainstream media, John. What do you think?
I think it's always going to exist. You're always going to have a loyal base for CNN, Fox, and unfortunately, just have we call them stupid people. Unfortunately, so as long as those stupid people exist, you're going to have these MSM networks. Because I mean, as soon as Fox got rid of Tucker, who'd they replace him with? The ex, you know, what I'm talking
Kilmeade,
about.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like Fox is doing everything they can to, like, I guess, save themselves. They're hemorrhaging hard right now. The fact that Elon jumped on that, it's incredible. It's a smart business move. You're going to get more independent journalism over there, because I think that's where it's going to go now. Nobody believes what the MSM has to say, but you look at these various different independent journalists on Instagram, for example, that are now making their money going out there and reporting unbiased reports. It's great to see. So I love seeing this. It's great to see that Tucker's going to just be like, deuces out. I'm going to Twitter. If you were going to try and shut me up, they're not going to over there. But I am concerned about what Elon's going to do, because he talks about free speech. And I know as a libertarian, you're like a free speech person as well. But the one thing that did concern me is when we talked about like Alex Jones. I'm not an Alex Jones fan, but Elon's like, that guy's not coming on this platform. It's like, so then you're still being selective. So it's, trust that guy with a grain of salt, as with anybody. But I do like seeing it. It's nice.
I feel the same way. I'm like you. I was never really a big Alex Jones fan. I used to listen to him back in like 2008 because he was the only one who would talk to Ron Paul, who I was a big fan of. But I do think that it's problematic that he wouldn't allow Alex Jones on the platform. Now, when it came, I saw he banned some, pedophile supporter the other day, and I was kind of like, all right, well, at that point in time, maybe, there do have to be some standards here or there. But but the thing is that there are very few platforms where you can actually have free speech. I don't know what the deal is with Alex Jones on Rumble. I know you were complaining the other day because a lot of the alternative media, John, they play their favorites as well. Every time you go onto Rumble, for example, at the very top of the social network there, you'll see it's the same people, Russell Brand and Kimberly Guilfoyle and all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard for smaller creators like ourselves to get a leg up, because it seems like the same old people always pushing you back down,
I hate to make the comparison, but I was on Twitch, you were on Twitch, and I knew Twitch, the Alphabet Mafia was going to come for me eventually. It was like, when you have discussions about COVID, you have discussions about transgender ideologies, they're going to take that as an affront to their existence. Like, you're committing genocide by just having these conversations where you disagree. And what Twitch made good on, though, was that they did support the smaller streamers. Rumble, I'm not seeing it. And I've got contacts in Rumble. I've hit them up on multiple different fronts saying, look, you want grassroots content creators to come over here that actually have medium to small voices, elevate them, grow your platform. But yeah, all I'm seeing so far is every single day, Austin, I go on there and it's Russell Brand. And not that I have anything against these people, but it's like, if you want people to come over and support your program or your platform, do it in return. And to go to your thing about free speech, there is not going to be any platform that's going to have free speech. It's impossible. You're going to have a set of terms of services, for example, the child pornography, things like that. And when Elon says we're a free speech platform, it's like, you're not. But I think you should have marketed in the sense of like, we're not as draconian as these other platforms saying, you can have these. Because remember when Elon first bought it, or the word was that Elon first bought it, the old regime was out, new regime is in. I saw everybody instantly start tweeting. It's like, trans women aren't real women, and they weren't getting banned for it. So it's kind of like, okay, these are the things that we should allow on this platform, or at least Elon is, but it's a good thing. Like, we need the discussion. We need the conversation. But when it comes to things like, the child pornography, you're going to have to get rid of it, which to this day, I still don't understand. I can't make a trans shooter joke, but you can post pornography on there. So it's just kind of like, there's still some double standards. And it's like, okay, what's worse, a dark humor or a dude, a trans dude, like railing out? Because I had that person on for a debate one time, and he was a trans person. And, when I went to go look at the profile, I was like, oh my God.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Let's give our guest a round of applause. John Burke, I got to say, there are very few podcasts that I have time to actually watch, usually after the fact, and even fewer that I will actually tune in when they're live. And the one that I tune into whenever I get that alert is your show on Rumble in the afternoons, just because you're so friggin' funny. It's so rare to find somebody who actually has a sense of humor these days. I highly recommend that my audience check out Burke streaming on tons of major social platforms. Which ones have you not been banned from, John?
I think Rumble so far.
Is it just,
and I'm working
Rumble?
on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really excited about this new project that you contacted me about last week. I got to have a conversation with the CEO of this new project that's a free speech project that's all about bringing creators together. I actually have already started making friends with some of the people in the network. Last week, I had Dominic Izzo on the show, and he was fantastic. The audience really loved him. And I'm curious if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing a little bit with our audience about this new free speech platform.
So what we saw is like Andy Frisil is a friend of mine. He does the Hard AF podcast, Real AF podcast, very, very popular podcast. But like maybe 6 months ago, iTunes is like really throttling his reach and stuff like that because he was talking about a lot of COVID issues and not even just like he was just having discussions like a lot of people have done. And Apple started like really hindering his reach. So there have been so many different platforms where you have creators such as yourself go on there and you're just, it's like talk radio. You have an opinion. It's not saying like, look, I am not Anthony Fauci. I'm not the so-called expert on COVID. Like, that guy's a joke anyway. But to have conversations is what's needed in much less the world, but not just America. But this platform, it's Spreely.tv or the Freedom Hub app. It's all intertwined. It basically gives some podcasters that we've pre-selected that are good at what they do a platform where their content will never be yanked. So it's called Freedom Hub. You can download it in the App Store. It streams on Roku, Fire Stick. And it's monetized now. So it's actually generating funds so it can be self-sustaining. And we're getting veteran-owned and patriotic businesses to come in and support those podcasters. So it's creating its own little economy. So think of it as like a different version of like AM talk radio, but with just some different voices, different opinions, because there are a lot of conservatives. I'd asked about bringing you on. I was like, we need Austin. He's a libertarian. He's like, we need a more centralized voice. It's like, you don't want to have it just all right leaning. So it's growing. It's been in the works for, man, I want to say a year and some change now. And like I said, if for whatever reason you get banned on a platform, it's always going to be on the Freedom Hub app. It'll never go away.
It's great. Yeah. And I signed up last week and we are streaming over there right now. You can actually find that link over on my Twitter page if you'd like to support that new freedom loving network. John, I'm really excited about this huge opportunity that you have granted to the Wake Up America show to continue to grow because I have big dreams and plans and goals for this show to continue to spread the message of freedom, which is what I believe in. And, I'm excited to be able to team up with somebody like yourself to help support your business, which is in many ways centered around freedom. It's a veteran-owned business, and I really love the branding, which is why I'm super excited to introduce to my audience, and they can see it on screen right now, this product line called Shell Shock CBD. Now, I'm just going to start by telling you this story very briefly, John. A couple of years ago, I went to the Renaissance Festival in Kansas City, and I tried Delta 8. They had these like caramel they had like these caramel candies or something like that, and I was like, because it wasn't legal, weed wasn't legal in Missouri, but you could get Delta 8. So I was like, all right, I'll try this stuff. Whatever, it's legal, so it must be fine. Tried it, nothing happened. Although I did see some like fairies and like people I thought looked like pirates, but it was a Renaissance festival, so that could have been it. But I was like, nothing happened. So last week you sent me this box, and I got this. All right, that was going to be a long commercial there for you for our friend John Burke, who we appreciate joining us yesterday. Welcome back to the live version of the show. I hope you enjoyed that interview with our buddy John. I'm Austin Peterson, the host of the Wake Up America show. If it's your first time watching us this morning and you like what you're seeing, make sure you smash that like button and click subscribe. It's been exciting to see all of our friends over on Rumble blowing up this morning, as well as a lot of people over on YouTube. It sure is exciting to be such a part of such a project where it's growing and building, and we are definitely making leaps and bounds here on this streaming platform. So thank you so much for being a part of it, and don't forget to visit our sponsor, John Burke's website at shellshockcbd.com. Use that code AP for Liberty for 10% off. And don't forget, he's got himself a money-back guarantee on that stuff as well. All right, well, we got about 12 more minutes until I speak to Camelia Peterson. She's going to join us to talk about she'll react to the CNN town hall. And we'll talk about an article or a Twitter thread yesterday that was posted by a man who's talking about the dangers of tattoos. And this is a topic that I find very interesting. We'll have a conversation about that with Camelia at 8 o'clock, and I'm sure she will be blushing quite profusely. But of course, many people are tuning in right now, of course, for the title piece to hear from Donald Trump at the CNN town hall last night. And for those of you who are just now tuning in, want to be able to hear what the president had to say in regards to the January 6th question and how he responded, take a listen to this.
Back to what happened on that day.
You said you weren't. Say that.
He has testified that, Mr. President.
He did not say that.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about that speech that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out.
Here comes some ownage.
So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now I use Truth Social. I think it's far superior.
Nice
okay?
plug.
I hope everybody's on Truth. If you look January 6th, just at before 2:30, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good.
Why.
They didn't like it being up there. I am asking. This is
right. So his Twitter account was taken down, and they took down his ability to speak, and so they prevented him from being able to defend himself, especially in the court of public opinion, in regards to what he was saying about how the January 6th protesters should behave.
And we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth, and I'm staying on Truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early.
Mr. President, I looked at the same timeline that you did.
No, but you didn't report that. You know why? Because it was taken down.
We did report it. I was reporting that
day. It was taken down and it wasn't.
But when it was clear.
Nicely done, Mr. President, especially with having the receipts right there. Let's continue on that line of thought here. This one here, again, probably one of the
3 hours, over 140 officers were injured that day.
And a person named Ashley Babbitt was killed.
Yes.
You know what? She was killed, and she shouldn't have been killed. And that thug that killed her, there was no reason to shoot her. At blank range, cold blank range, they shot her. And she was a good person. She was a patriot. There was no reason to. There was no.
I mean, that's pure red meat right there for his followers, for sure. But honestly, I happen to agree with him.
And he went on television to brag about the fact that he killed her.
The officer was not bragging about the fact that he killed her, but what?
Dude, the way that she reacted to that, it was as if he had slapped her in the face. And I guarantee you, the CNN executives have got a little earpiece in her right now, telling her, and they're freaking out right in the background, screaming and running around like there's a fire. Their heads are on fire. They're telling her what to say to react to that and say, no, that didn't happen, right? They're feeding her information in her ear. But because she's basically like that AI robot. Have you seen that meme where it's the not AI, but it's the NPC? She's like that NPC meme where they pull open the side of your head and then they take out one chip of outrage and then they put in the other outrage chip into your brain. That's what's happening right there, because she's incapable of having her own independent thoughts. So the producers are in her ear telling her what to say and how to react, because she doesn't know how to react to this. And, honestly, I think the president did a terrific turnaround on this one. But if that wasn't his finest moment when it comes to the war in Ukraine, this response most certainly would have been. Take a listen.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country.
Great answer.
Can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that, because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. And I'll have that done. I'll have that done in 24 hours. I'll have it done. You need the power of the presidency to do it.
Do you want Ukraine
that
to
would be
win this
quite
war?
impressive, Mr. President. What did you think of Donald Trump's performance last night in the CNN town hall? You can either leave us a comment on whichever social network you're joining us on this morning. You can also, if you want to have your comment read on air, you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. One listener texted in this morning on that line and said, the only way that Trump could subjugate CNN would be to win a lawsuit against them or purchase the company. Very interesting. Andy Opperman sent me a picture of a police officer looking at a little boy saying, obedience is important, Billy. If you don't obey me, I might have to kill you. Okay, that's quite hilarious. One listener, Manuel, wrote in. He says he wants to become a marketing ninja with me. And I guess he wants me to go to his conference or something like that. I have no idea. Another listener wrote out the question, sent me a question this morning saying they'd like to order my Crusader Pepe t-shirt, but without the caption. I'd be willing to pay extra for this. I tell you what, as soon as the show is over, just for you, I will go create your Crusader Pepe shirt without the slogan on it, just for you. And while I'm going to commercial break, go get my friend Camelia to respond to CNN Town Hall, talk about why God hates tattoos when we get back. Why don't you check out apforlibertyshop.com. Get yourself a Donald Trump toilet brush or a Crusader Pepe shirt with the slogan on it. And don't you go anywhere, because I'll be right back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit apforlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Hope you're feeling well. Been very exciting to see a great big audience over there on Rumble this morning. Let's give it up to our Rumblers. Big applause for you all. It's exciting to see us having over 100 people watching us live this morning, including our Cantina crew, our OG peeps over on YouTube as well. Big ups. Make sure you smash that like button and click subscribe if you like the content that you're seeing so far. All right, so we've been watching the clips all morning of the Donald Trump CNN town hall, and you've been hearing me lavish praises on the former president, which some of my libertarian friends have been grinding their teeth. Well, joining me now is one of those teeth grinders, I'm guessing, Camelia Peterson. She's joining us right now. Good morning, CJ. This is fine. This is fine. Everything is fine.
It's all fine. It's just, yeah, it's fine. I thought there at the beginning of the show when you started out that I was going to have to reschedule for tomorrow, but that's okay. I'm kidding.
You're no Donald Trump fan, Camelia, so give it to us straight. What did you think about his performance last night?
I think he was quintessential Trump. He does Trump better than anybody else, right? This is what he's good at. He was on his stage and super, I think that I've been saying all along that really it is in the mainstream's best interest for Donald Trump to be the Republican nominee, because they need him just as much as he needs them. And so this was a really interesting decision that CNN made to do this, because they're not stupid. Maybe it's arguable, but
you're not going to give him any credit, are you?
I am, but they
had to give him a dime's worth of credit.
I'm saying that it's no surprise that he did well. Doesn't surprise me at all.
He's been screwing the pooch on everything else. The from the trading card release that he's had to other public appearances, supporting Walt Disney World against Ron DeSantis. He has been screwing the proverbial pooch for months now. And here he comes out in the CNN town hall, and you're like,
well, okay, but I say that because that's his element. He is in his element there. The spotlight was on him, and that's what he loved. All of these other things were his attempts to get the spotlight on him. He didn't need to try to do that here. The spotlight was on him. This was his stage. And it doesn't surprise me at all that he took that and ran with it and did great. And she looked like a fool.
Okay, but wait, yes. Okay. So he did great. You think he did great?
Sure. Yeah. Objectively speaking, in terms of appeal to the audience, I think that you're right.
Appeal to the obvious. Wait.
No. The appeal to the audience.
Oh, okay.
He knows how to play a crowd for sure. But, you're right, though. A lot of the answers that he gave, as I've been listening to the clips, were good answers. The answer to the war on Ukraine was excellent. I think that's, there are. It's not that I disagree with Trump on everything. There are lots of things I agree with Trump on. There's just also lots of things that I don't care for too. And I think that he served his purpose when he was in office as a disruptor, whether I liked it or not. I think that there was a time for that. I just think that, now is the time for something else. But I will tell you, when I was kind of skimming through Twitter, looking at the different reactions to it, I really think that Ben Shapiro had the best take on it.
Really?
And he said that this town hall hits everybody's pleasure centers.
It's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes. CNN gets to broadcast outrage over the so troubling Trump. Trump gets to shellac a CNN host. The only people who lose out are those who were hoping for, some serious answers to serious questions, which in fairness, there were some serious answers to serious questions.
I think Ben is not being fair. Yeah, Ben's not being entirely honest right there in that one. I thought that listen, a president who could stop the war in Ukraine, that's a powerful message. There are a lot of, I think there were probably some liberals who are applauding that. The ones who haven't completely jumped onto the Trump derangement syndrome train and, aren't sitting there, worshiping, Vladimir Zelensky over there in Ukraine, people who actually don't want this war to spread or to get any worse or to, God forbid, go nuclear. He's talking about the issues there that I think people want to hear about. And now what I'd really be curious to get your take on, though, Camelia, is how he responded to the allegations of that civil trial of which he just lost in regards to having to pay $5 million for allegedly assaulting a woman. I say allegedly because he's going to get an appeal, and it's quite possible he might get a more sympathetic judge on the appeal, and that could get overturned. In which case, my take on that is I thought it was kind of a believable response, what he said. What did you think?
I agree. I don't know that I would be convinced that he had actually done that. Trump is Trump when it comes to, I think his behavior toward women in general is probably pretty reprehensible, just in terms of, like, I don't know, he's a narcissist. Anybody who argues that is not thinking clearly. But he is a classic narcissist. But with that, he's also smart, obviously. And so he's not going to put himself into a position. He hasn't gotten as far as he has without putting himself into a position that he can't defend. And I'm always suspect of things that are brought about, 20 years later.
Mm-hmm. Very convenient, the timing.
Yes, there's just too many things that are don't add up and are just too convenient.
Yeah, no, I agree. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Grateful to have you here. Make sure you smash that like button and click subscribe if you like the content that you're hearing this morning. We do come from a message from a viewpoint of economic freedom and personal liberty on this show, but we also entertain a wide variety of viewpoints. We get Trump lovers on the show, Trump haters on the show, and some Trump in-betweeners on the program. And I know Camelia would probably be classified in the hater camp, but she does give credit. But she's intellectually honest.
I'm not an in-betweener.
I don't know that you're an in-betweener, Camelia. I think you're more on the Trump hater side of things.
You know what I always used to say was that Trump and I have a complicated relationship. And, there's some days, I love him. And there's other days I'd like to kick him to the curb because, I'm not going to lie, I do miss him on Twitter because it was nothing if not entertaining. And I always told people, if you really wanted to know what was going on in Trump's brain, there was absolutely no filter between what he was thinking and what came out through his fingers on Twitter.
Right, because and at first we kind of recoiled in horror to a certain extent, but I mean that sort of what do you call it? That transparency, I feel like, was actually a useful exercise, probably more like in the bigger picture on the meta than what Donald Trump probably knew of how he was teaching us. If anything, undermining the sort of idea of not just Trump, but the president itself as a sort of God king. In many ways, it revealed his humanity. And if it did anything to undermine the presidency itself, probably for good reason.
Right. When he talks about doing something about the war in Ukraine and that he would take care of it on the first day in office or whatever, okay, people talk a big talk and everything. Every candidate does that. But I don't, the one thing I think that Trump did well when he was in office is when it came to, adversaries overseas, that he talked a big talk, which I think is, he should do. I think that there is value in doing that, in, putting up a strong front and not backing down to the people that are threatening you. And so I think that is valuable. However, what I don't know is, like, when it really comes down to it, could he go to the table with those people and be a mediator or find resolution? And I have my doubts about that because we didn't see it happen domestically in our own country when we had, all of the riots there during his presidency and everything. And the whole time I was like wishing for, a president who would at least make a public display, if nothing else, of saying, hey, let's bring both sides of this to the table, community leaders, and let's sit down and let's at least air things out. Never happened, because that's the part that bothers me, is that our political culture, really nothing is more important than owning the libs. And that won't get you very far. It's not productive.
Well, it may not be productive, but it sure is funny, and it drives a lot of clicks and gets a lot of views on live streams. Am I right?
Well, it's true. aren't unserious people. Anyway,
we are a very unserious people. That is true. But sometimes we have to laugh to stop from crying.
Yes.
Good morning for all of our friends who are joining us this morning live on the stream. We're glad to have you here. You can text the show today with your thoughts at 573-319-1586. Again, we'd love to hear from our friends. If you'd like to have your thoughts shared on the stream, you can do so by dropping us a text at 573-319-1586. Hey, Camelia, one of our listeners actually has a question for you. JGJ over in the live stream. He wants to know your thoughts on RFK Jr. for president.
I don't know. I'm conflicted about that. I think that it's one of those things where I've seen a lot of the things that he says, and they are good things. When he talks about war, when he talks about, the war on drugs, when he talks about, the vaccines, all of those things. There have been several things that I see pop up lately. I just, when you get someone in office, though, and they're good on those things, but, you're throwing climate deniers in jail and all of these other things. I don't know. I do think that he's going for that base of people in the Democrat Party who are not happy with Biden in there, that more moderate base in the party.
Yeah, he's kind of going for the prison planet Democrats. If you're a Democrat and you think John F. Kennedy was assassinated by the CIA, RFK is your guy. If you're an old school liberal Democrat who still thinks that Big Pharma and Anthony Fauci are evil and trying to inject us all with poison and kill our babies, then that RFK is your candidate, right?
So he's kind of creating a coalition with those people and libertarians, frankly.
Right.
It's a lot of the libertarians that are talking about him.
Yeah. No, it's true. I've gotten a lot of messages from my libertarian friends who are like, I'm supporting RFK Jr. And 80 to 90% of that is like the vaccine question, right? Because honestly, Donald Trump, even though a lot of his people I think are on the more anti-vax side of things, Donald Trump was like the big vaccine guy. So once Ron DeSantis actually steps into this race in a big way, it'll be interesting to see if he kind of uses that as a bludgeon to try and draw away from support. But I mean, even DeSantis,
I can't imagine that he wouldn't. I mean,
for sure. But I mean,
there's only going to be so many things that they can draw a distinction.
DeSantis propped the vaccine up as well. But what's going to happen is that Trump will come out and say, I knew that Anthony Fauci was bad the whole time. I knew the vaccine was bad the whole time. And Ron DeSantis was pushing it, and I actually think it was bad. And Ron DeSantis was bad for pushing it, right?
Hey, Anthony Fauci, by the way, is coming to Missouri next week.
Really?
In case you would like to come listen to him, he's going to be in St. Louis on Monday, I believe, speaking at a graduation at WashU, I believe.
Oh God!
There will be protests.
Yeah, as there should be. I'll definitely be supporting the protesters for sure. Al Johnson is asking, what do we think about Vivek Ramaswamy? That's actually a pretty good. That's actually a pretty good question there. Why don't you answer that, CJ?
I like Vivek. I like a lot of the things that he says. I think that he is right on, where we should move in terms of the direction of the country. And he is sort of the opposite to Trump in that he has a lot of the good ideas, but a lot more of the, I suppose, the peacemaking side of things. I have a few concerns about some of the things he said. I think he's a little inclined towards the national conservatism end of things and sort of the legislating morality bit. But overall, I mean, I think I've liked a lot of, he's very well spoken. I like a lot of what he said. Do I think he has a chance in hell? No, probably not.
Snowball has a better chance in hell than Vivek Ramaswamy, but he will, grow his audience and base and email list and sell some books. Let's move on to the topic, which I was really interested to get your take on, Camelia. You're smiling and laughing. Is this going to be a moment where you actually are going to feel a little bit weird, a little awkward to discuss this next topic on the Wake Up America show? God hates tattoos. Who says that? Well, the Bible says that. Doesn't the Bible say something about thou shalt not tattoo thyself in connection with the funeral rites?
I was going to say, yeah, a lot of people like to say that that God hates tattoos because the Bible says that they're bad, but actually, I think the reference in there has more to do with some ritual having to do with the dead, and it was like a pagan thing or whatever. So the idea was like, don't do what those pagan people do and tattoo yourself
That
because of the
sounds
dead
like
or
a
something.
cope, such a cope. It's like, people have to interpret things. Oh, well, it actually doesn't prevent me from doing this. But when he talked about homosexual sex, then it's absolutely to be taken literally, right?
Well, it's like Mark Twain said, it's like the Bible is like the pharmacy, you pick the medicine you want to take.
Very funny. Thank you for that. Twain is that Samuel Clemens injunction there. The Bible warns against tattoos in Leviticus 19:28, which says, "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print or tattoo any marks upon you. I am the Lord." So it's kind of like the Second Amendment, right? It's secure free state being necessary. The militia being necessary to the security of the free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? So,
Right.
so this comma here separates it when it says in Leviticus 19:28, nor print or tattoo any marks upon you. So that would that is
there's
to
no
me an absolute
punctuation in
forbidden.
there's no punctuation in Hebrew, right?
Well, there is in English, and the Bible is written in the King James is written in the King's English. So we're going to go with King James.
I mean, I'm all okay with the Bible saying don't get tattoos. That's good.
The
I think
Bible
it's good
says
advice.
don't get tattoos.
Good advice for life.
Absolutely. It's good advice for life. And apparently, it's good advice for health. I sent you this thread yesterday from Dr. Garrett Smith, and it starts like this: why tattoos make people sick and send them to early graves. Most people haven't looked into the research on tattoos. I have. It's ugly, real ugly. Do what you choose to do. I just provide information. And then he says, hopefully you'll reconsider getting any more done after this thread. He starts it like this, and I'll read these bullet points and then have you respond, Camelia. He says, in this thread, we're going to cover diseases and health issues associated with tattoos, earlier death associated with tattoos, stats on how many people are getting tattooed, stats on how most people perceive tattoos and the tattoos, ways tattoos can be addictive, and the known toxicity of tattoo inks. Yeah, I was telling somebody actually my hairdresser the other day when I got a haircut was asking about my trip to Japan, and we talked about the hot springs, and you can't go into the hot springs if you have tattoos. So in terms of just like cultural thing in Japan, it's still verboten because they think that you're a gang member and they'll forbid you from public baths. Now I know a lot of Americans don't want to get naked with a bunch of Japanese people anyway, but I mean at the end of the day, it's kind of sad to think, you might lose out on an opportunity, to have an incredible experience overseas. But I thought the health situation was probably the most important in this thread. What about you?
Right. And I think this is something I've not really ever seen talked about a whole lot. And a lot of it it makes sense and I asked you last night, I was like, have you seen those Instagram reels of the close-ups of the tattoo needles going into the skin? And it just is like, oh, but I mean, you're like hundreds and hundreds of little holes, in your skin, you're putting foreign substance into your body that stays there. There's got to be some ramifications from that because your body has defense mechanisms, first of all, not to mention, whatever is in the ink that you're putting in there. So when he talks about, what your body retains as far as what goes into your lymph system and makes its way through your body and what stays in your body, because it's permanent, it's a tattoo. And also, the idea of how your skin reacts to the sun differently and things that you might not catch, like skin cancer, melanoma, because you won't see those things that you would normally see, if your skin is doesn't have the color on it. And there's actually a little spot in there. I was trying to find what the name for it was, but he was talking about a phenomena in nature where we like the toxic frogs, where we stay away from the bright colors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. It was aposematism, I think maybe. But anyway, oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing. Anyway, oh yeah, it's used to describe the use of bright coloration to advertise that an organism is dangerous or unpalatable. So there may be, this evolutionary, right, this psychological response that we just don't really think about, instinctual, when it comes to that. But, in fairness, I think that it has, when he talked about the numbers of how people perceive it and what's acceptable, almost half of people do say that people with tattoos are attractive or sexy. The numbers go down when you start talking about respectable or intelligent or healthy or spiritual.
Yeah, sexy, right?
Because they are right. They're
Yeah,
associated with certain behavioral traits, right? They are associated with certain personality traits.
You've got to hit it before you quit it. Andy Opperman over there in the live stream gets a round of applause. He says, if the Bible agrees with me, it's literal. If it doesn't, it's simply allegory. Very funny.
That's right. Everything's figurative.
Very, very true. Very true. Good morning, folks, says Bert Crash. He's late, but finally here. Good to have you, Bert. He says, I'm going to catch up while Austin talks about Trump committing verbal assault on CNN. Yes, for sure. Glad to have you here. Not a big fan
they would find him guilty in that case.
They would find him guilty, yes.
Guilty of verbal assault.
How do you feel about tattoos, Camelia? You think they're sexy?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't have super strong feelings about them one way or the other. Do I find it attractive? Not necessarily.
If there was a really hot guy, okay, and he looked like Elon Musk, and he had like some really sexy tattoos, would you hit it and quit it or commit it?
Well, I don't hit it and quit it to begin with, if we're just being straight here.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I think this is something that's more the case. I think we've discussed this before with women than it is with men, is that the tattoos would be secondary to everything else, because that by itself, I'm like the personality component and the intelligence components are going to have a whole lot to do with how I can overlook a lot of other things if all of the other factors are in place.
Guy said, Dr. Garrett said the mean age of death for tattooed persons was 39 years, compared with 53 years for non-tattoos. There was a significant contribution of negative messages in tattoos associated with non-natural death, injuring, poisoning, homicide, suicide, etc. Persons with tattoos appear to die earlier than those without. There may be an epiphenomenon by way of having tattoos and risk-taking behavior, such as drug or alcohol use. A negative tattoo may suggest a predisposition to violent death. What do you think about that, CJ?
Well, I think that you see a lot of stories about people going to get tattoos when they are incapacitated from alcohol or otherwise, and then they have a lot of regrets.
regrets, no regrets. But how about this though? I mean, this is what I've found fascinating from a 2007 study. 84 female and 76 male undergraduates rated a series of 16 female line drawings that varied in 2 levels of hair color and 8 levels of tattooing. Results showed tattooed women were rated as less physically attractive, more sexually promiscuous, and heavier drinkers than untattooed women, with more negative ratings, with increasing number of tattoos. Camelia, if you saw a young woman and she had a sleeve all the way up her arms and one side and stuff like that, maybe have you seen those tattoos that the girls have been getting like in between their tatas, like the booby tattoos that they've been doing? Like sometimes they'll have like bear paws like tattooed on their tatas. Have you seen these?
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Oh yeah.
Ow.
Oh, I know. No, I've been seeing it more and more, and I can't really show you, but like if I had a pair of boobs, and I have been gaining a little weight lately, but they get them tattooed right down there, right between their tatas and all that kind of stuff. Would you think that would you just naturally think perhaps that they were more promiscuous?
I don't know. Maybe. I think that, people have that perception because there probably is a lot of truth to the association with people that do that being more willing to take risks for risk-taking behavior.
Yeah. Now, I can't remember when it comes to tattoos in regards to my previous history before my marriage, but I can say there's something about a girl with nipple rings that she always wants to show them.
Well, why else are you going to get them? You're certainly not getting them because they're comfortable.
Good point. Good point. And it's kind
my
of like
assumption anyway.
Yeah. So if you saw a girl with nipple rings, would you, think that perhaps she was more promiscuous, Camellia?
Maybe, but also I'll just say I really try not to see girls with nipple rings there to begin with.
Are we having fun this morning? Are we not entertained? If you're watching the Wake Up America show right now, you're probably like, what the hell is this? I thought I was watching a conservative talk show. No, we're libertarians. It gets a little bit weird over here, and we have a lot of fun with it. Camellia, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we let you go today?
No, other than the fact that I would just like to shame the Missouri legislature before I leave the air. It's part of the reason for my background because, I will, hold on. I have to give them props first. This is news, and it's something we've talked about on the show that I need to say is that big props because yesterday they actually passed the ban on chemical and surgical mutilation of children in Missouri.
There we go. Absolutely.
So
that's good.
It is headed to the governor's desk and he will sign that. They also passed the transport stuff. And I mean, sorry to offend any of my friends here, but I don't care about that. I mean, fine, whatever. I'm more concerned about the permanent stuff. But, but otherwise, that was the one good thing that they got done. Otherwise, they did lots of things like, give people give people, corporations tax credits and whatever, and, totally kill, tax cuts for the common folk and, education reform, 0 education reform bills. And I'm mad, but,
But at least they did ban the, the mutilation of the children.
Yes, I'm very happy about that. So
good.
If
Glad
nothing
to
else
hear
got
it.
done, yeah.
Camellia, you're not gone next week on vacation, right? So we still get you next week?
No, I'll still be around.
One more week of Camellia before she goes to Florida. Camellia, thank you very much for your time. Let's give her a round of applause. Have a great day, CJ.
Bye, everyone.
Glad to have you here. All right, we're going to go to a brief commercial break, and we're going to get my friend Daniela Pensack. There was a judge who ruled that a trans person did not expose their bait and tackle in the locker room. Why? Well, because they were too fat. What? Oh, it's only going to get weirder from here on out on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Donald Trump and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Step right up, ladies and gents, to learn about the coolest president yet. He's not just any old prez, he's Calvin Coolidge, and boy oh boy is he different from the rest. He was quiet as a mouse, but don't you underestimate his power. He knew how to handle money, and he didn't waste an hour. He cut taxes, lowered debt, and balanced the budget with ease. No wonder the roaring 20s brought such prosperity and peace. But don't take my word for it. Grab a copy of Calvin the Coolest President and see for yourself. It's a children's book that'll make you smile and help your little ones learn about wealth. You can find it on Amazon Kindle or get your hands on a paperback at apforlibertyshop.com. So come on down and get yourself a copy of the book that's making waves all around town. You won't regret it, so get ready to be floored because Calvin Coolidge, well, folks, he really scored.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every $1 we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Donald Trump subjugated CNN at the town hall last night. Even people who weren't supporters of Trump are now saying that they thought that he destroyed CNN so much that the left is saying, I'm done with CNN. Hashtag done with CNN is now trending on Twitter worldwide. Boy, they're sure crying this morning, aren't they? Like little babies. The CNN executives are probably feeling like the Bud Light executives today. Joining us now to discuss this, as well as many other things in the news, is a field coordinator for Turning Point USA, one of our favorite guests, Daniela Pensack. She's joining us right now. Good morning, Daniela. Thanks for getting up so early all the way out there on the West Coast.
Hey, good morning. Yes, I don't mind getting up early anymore, at least for this show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you, Daniela. We're always grateful for your time, and we love your insight. So what was your reaction to how Donald Trump handled the CNN town hall last night?
I very much enjoyed it. It was entertaining, especially with that female host and seeing her reactions. He definitely came out as the alpha in that entire situation, so I very much appreciated to watch it.
Did you have a favorite moment or anything like that? Anything key takeaways at all?
I mean, I'm gonna have to go with the classic moment that's gonna live throughout history is when he pulled out the notes from his suit. I mean, that was extremely entertaining. And I did notice he was using a few more hand gestures that he does than usual. And that was also very much entertaining. Exactly. Yeah, but I would say when he pulled out the notes, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I particularly enjoyed the moment when he talked about Ashley Babbitt and he was calling out the officer who shot her as a thug. And to hear a Republican say anything other than, back the blue no matter who, 24 hours a day, it's actually rather refreshing, because my biggest theme these days is that I really feel like after COVID-19, with cops shutting down conservatives' churches and the way that they're handling these drag shows, protecting these, underage drag shows and stuff in places like Kansas City, conservatives still back in the blue in 2023 is one big cope. What do you think?
Yeah, that is true. I do believe it depends on the issue. I think a lot of us, at least what I've noticed, that people play sides. So when it goes against, for instance, when it's a right-wing individual, when it goes against their narrative, they're going to be against the police. When it goes for their narrative, they're going to support the police. And that's just kind of like the political landscape that we live in. When police officers are tough on crime, on thugs, which as they should be, conservatives tend to support police officers. But, obviously when they kill Ashley Babbitt, for instance, for her being which was wrong of them to do, I just want to put on record, he's going to say things against them. It's just part of the political process. But, it's still necessary to take sides at times, which is what he's doing, at least to fit the narrative.
Yeah, it makes good sense. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Daniela Pensack. She is a field coordinator for Turning Point USA, and we're grateful to have her input today. We've been talking a little bit about the CNN town hall this morning, but I'd like to switch topics to one that you pitched to me for this segment about a transgender individual who was alleged to have flashed females in a female locker room, but then the judge decided to let them off the hook. Do you want to set this up for us, Daniela?
Yeah, sure. So, earlier this year in Ohio, I'm just gonna say it's a transgender individual, but I'm just gonna refer to them as with he, him pronouns. It's a biological male who identifies as a woman and who's also fairly obese. And he has exposed himself at a local YMCA locker room to multiple women, including underage girls between the ages of 13 and 16, multiple times. And because according to the YMCA gender policy, he was allowed to do that. He was allowed to go in the women's locker room. And he has been charged with 3 accounts of public indecency, but they're all cleared because, well, for a couple of reasons, because of the YMCA's policy, but also because that he is too fat. And his fat has covered his genital area. So according to the judge and according to witnesses, the witnesses said that they couldn't technically see his genital region. So the judge has cleared all of the charges because he said that they technically weren't exposed to any indecency in that manner. So the man has fat privilege, essentially, you could say, and that really saved him in this case.
For the love of God, what is this weird dystopia that we live in? Daniela, thank you for the report. Give me your take on it.
Yeah, like I said, fat privilege. People say we have skinny privilege here, skinny privilege there, but why can't we talk about this situation? Clearly this man is scot-free because of that. He weighs over, at least the article stated he weighs over 350 pounds. So that really saved him in this situation. Maybe it makes it difficult for other situations in his life, but where it really matters, in this case, he's out free. He has a fat chance of with these crimes. So, good on him for gaining all that weight, I guess.
All right. Yes, I get it. And no, your point is well made, and it is quite funny here. But Daniela, there's a level of evil underlying this situation because as funny as it might be and as grotesque as it might be, and we all have a desire to laugh. There is a layer of evil in the undercurrent of this, not just in the person who is, in my opinion, who is victimizing women and underage girls, but there's the behavior of the YMCA in allowing it, and then there is the behavior of the judge for legalizing it, in essence. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that begs a question, like, are men allowed to expose themselves to women simply because, the woman may not see their genital area, or they happen not to see their genital area? Is that okay all of a sudden to expose themselves, especially to, underage girls, that were in that situation? So yeah, clearly there's an underlying evil and there's something really wrong going on here. And I think what's happening is that the judge and everyone involved other than the witnesses that are absolving him, they are going out of their way to kind of like coddle this transgender movement, essentially, because like I had mentioned, this man, he identifies as a woman. So it seems like they're kind of going out of their way to absolve him of this simply for that fact. But had he not, identified as a woman, obviously this would be, I believe, charged as a real crime. So from the YMCA would take issue with that, and the judge. So just because this man identified as a woman, he's allowed to do this. And I don't know how this man presented. I don't know. I didn't see pictures of him, so I don't know how femme presenting he is. But regardless, that's just kind of a really wrong situation. He was male enough for the woman in the locker room to see him as a male. So genital exposed or not,
complained about it. They were upset.
Oh yeah.
The women were the ones who were laying these charges. What's shocking to me is the judge, that the judge would actually rule in that situation, that scenario. I mean, not just that the YMCA would allow it, but that a judge would actually step in and say, oh, well, yeah, the person's too fat so that you couldn't have seen it or something like that, which just begs the question. So if they weren't too fat, would they have ruled the other way? And you know what? Something about this situation in this case, makes me think that he probably wouldn't have, Danielle, that he was looking for an excuse to let this person off for their crime.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said. Even, the legal system is now, in Ohio of all places, is going out of its way to, like I said, coddle this movement, and they're using any excuse they can to really use to coddle it and to allow it to happen. And so in this situation, he just used, the man being fat as a way to get him off of these charges or to clear the charges. If the man was thinner, I don't know, maybe they would have found another reason. They would have just went with the YMCA gender policy, which, legally states he was allowed to do that, and the women just had the freedom to go to another facility, I guess. But yeah, this situation is all around just screwed up. And it just begs a question about, what's happening with our legal system. It's one thing for these institutions like the YMCA to have their own gender policy, their own, bathroom policy, their own locker room policy, but what's going on with the legal system? And obviously the witnesses are very much upset about this, and the entire community that has seen this case unfold are extremely upset at this, as they should be.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to our friend Daniela Pensack. She is a field coordinator for Turning Point USA, and she is graciously giving us our time this morning because it is 2 hours earlier on the West Coast this morning. Can we give her a round of applause? It's 6:39 out there, and look how lovely she looks and how well she's doing, and we're grateful to have you. A lot of people can't get up this early and still sound coherent and cogent, and she's doing a terrific job. So if you like the content that you're seeing and hearing, you want to get more of it, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the AP for Liberty channel on whichever social media network you're watching us on this morning. It's been exciting to see over 100 people watching this show live today. I'm going to give it up to you, especially the Rumblers, of which we have very many of you today. Grateful to have you. Make sure you click that subscribe button before you leave today over on Rumble. It's been exciting to watch that audience growing, getting bigger and bigger. So in terms of, what I'm not sure if you heard Camelia's interview right before me, but she had stated that Missouri's legislature actually moved to ban procedures of gender change transitions for minors, which I think is a very good thing. But the left very much sees things like that as an attack on transgenders writ large, not as the protection of children, which it rightfully is, even for libertarians like myself and yourself, who think that adults should be able to do with their bodies as they please, who don't judge people for their harsh mental health conditions or for their desired gender bending lifestyles, because everybody should live their life as they see fit, provided they harm no one else, right? But what we're trying to do is prevent harm being done to other people. But people like Oprah Winfrey, in this story that you brought up to me, Daniela, she delivered this woke commencement address where, one, she went off on the Supreme Court, but then she said that LGBTQ plus is, quote, under attack. What is this story?
Yeah, so Oprah Winfrey over the weekend, she gave a commencement speech at the Tennessee State University graduation, and like you had mentioned, she had went down the entire list of woke ideology and leftist talking points. She talked about LGBT movement. She talked about climate change, systemic racism, of course. So, and she basically advocated and encouraged these graduates, to go out in the real world and to fight for these causes. And she also praised the two lawmakers from the state, for the Tennessee State legislature, Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. I don't know if anyone remembers, but last month they were suspended from attending the legislature because they were involved in a protest in the state capitol, and it was perceived as a racist attack because the two lawmakers happened to be Black, and that was all over the news. But regardless, and she praised those two lawmakers, and so it was all around just progressive ideology being thrown at these graduates, and it just kind of caused a little stir because people are talking about how ideological this speech was, and why are we talking about policy and ideology instead of just trying to encourage these graduates, regardless of their creed or of their ideological background, just to go out and be successful in the world.
Yeah, no, God forbid that people actually go out there and do something incredible, especially with the way degrees have been tilting towards things like gender studies and underwater basket weaving, et cetera, et cetera. Daniela, you had another story that you brought to my attention that I wanted to ask you about, a little bit of a different topic here, in regards to the NIH, National Institute of Health. You sent me this story about the National Institute of Health restarting their bat research grant. What is this?
Yeah, so the national, like you mentioned, the National Institute of Health. So they are now researching their gain of function research on bats and coronavirus in bats, and they were actually doing this a little bit prior to COVID-19. And so when Trump was president, this was over 3 years ago, he put a stop on this research project because we kind of had a pandemic going on. And at the time, the National Institute of Health was in partnership with the Institute of Virology from Wuhan, China. So, and while this was going on, COVID did break out. And so, now with President Joe Biden and him lifting the national state of emergency from COVID, him lifting that just not even, a few weeks after, they're continuing this research again on bats. And it's kind of concerning. I have a lot of funny feelings about this. It makes me feel very uncomfortable, and I understand a lot of people feel the same way, as they should. I don't really see the necessity of them, continuing this research project, especially since we kind of just got over a pandemic. Maybe give it a few more years, just to let everything just calm down. But no, they're really excited to continue this once again.
Yeah, no kidding. It's definitely very concerning and something that we all need to keep an eye on, especially because the way that the pandemic was handled in light of the research funding to the Wuhan Institute of Virology is the most likely vector for the beginning of that disease, which impacted us all so terribly. Daniela, your reports are always terrific. Everybody looks forward to having you on the program. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners? Maybe plug social media or anything like that before we let you go today?
Yeah, well, I don't have anything of substance to say right now at the end, like I usually do, but I will plug my socials. Follow me on Instagram. It's official Daniela Pensack. Same name on TikTok. I might get my TikTok banned soon. So I had like maybe 6 clips already banned. So go follow me there. It's still pretty much exclusive before I get banned. And also on Twitter, just Pensack Daniela is my tag. Follow me on there. I post a lot of great content, a lot of based content. So I highly encourage you to do that, and you like me on there.
Okay, we will like you over there. Make sure you spell that last name correctly. It's Pentsak. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's right, Daniela Pensack. Thank you very much, Daniela. We appreciate you, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. All right, what do you think of Daniela Pensack? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. And very briefly, I'm going to go to a quick little commercial break, but I will be back because I wanted to talk about how the marketing gurus behind the iconic Bud Light ads have blasted Budweiser for the self-inflicted damage that was done by the Dylan Mulvaney campaign. I'm going to get to that in just a moment, but very briefly before I do, make sure you check out our sponsor over there at shellshockcbd.com. I highly endorse and recommend that for those of you who are dealing with sleep issues or maybe are having some pain, if you're looking for a great solution that doesn't come from Big Pharma, my buddy John Burke has got you set up. I tried these Fallout gummies last week, and oh my God, it will blow your mind. You won't pass a drug test. So just so you know, Delta 8, it does have that psychoactive effect. If you're looking for something a little less psychoactive, they do have hemp tea as well as other CBD products right over there. I'm actually a little nervous to try the Willy Wonka Delta bar, but I think this weekend I'm going to have a little bit of extra time off so I don't have to be anywhere or say anything, so I won't say anything stupid on camera, right? But check them out at shellshockcbd.com. Use that code AP4Liberty, AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty to get 10% off. And just remember, if you don't like any of the products from Shell Shock CBD, then they will hook you up with a free refund, okay? All right, when we get back, we're going to talk about a little bit about guerrilla marketing and about the people who created some of the most iconic marketing campaigns in Bud Light's history and what they have to say about the Dylan Mulvaney campaign. I'll be right back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, you know, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Dad?
Yeah?
There's something I want to tell you.
What is it, son?
Well, Dad, you're my dad. And I love you, man.
You're not getting my Bud Light, Johnny.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light.
Oh, no.
Hello? Hey, who? What's up? Nothing, B. Just watching the game, having a bud. What's up with you? Nothing. Watching the game, having a bud.
True.
What's up? What's up? Yo, who's that? Yo, pick up the phone. Hello? What's that? What's up? Yo, where's Dookie? Yo, Dookie. Yo. What's that? What's that? Hold on. Hello? So what's up, B? Watching the game, having a bud.
Watching the game, having a bud. True. Well, Anheuser-Busch's former chief creative officer, whose iconic ads included the I Love You Man commercials and the talking frogs, blasted the company's Belgian parent InBev over the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney fiasco. He said, "It took us 20 years to take a Bud Light beer to the #1 beer in the country, and it took them 1 week to dismantle it." He said that to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch this last week. Anheuser-Busch has suffered from a, quote, complete lack of corporate oversight, and it's been that way since InBev took the company over, he added in a Monday interview. He now runs his own consulting firm here in St. Louis, Missouri. He says it's pretty obvious InBev continues to fan the flames on their own with their defensive comments. And then he declined to comment further about the controversy. The marketing guru had created many of the iconic Anheuser-Busch Super Bowl commercials in the 1990s and the 2000s. He created that one of the 3 frogs on the lily pads, remember, that croaked out, Bud Wise, Bud Wiser. And honestly, those were awesome campaigns. We all still remember them 30 years later, for God's sakes. Great campaigns. People still say was to this day. I mean, at least I do, people from my generation. How about you? What did you think of the Wake Up America show? Because I know we had such a huge audience today that a lot of you, this is your very first time ever seeing the program. Did you like it? If so, here's a great way to show it. Click that like button, subscribe to the channel, especially all of our Rumblers over there, because it's been awesome to see those huge numbers over on Rumble. We appreciate that. 88 people watching us right now. Nelson65 says, "Tell Steffi I said hi." What are you trying to say there, Nelson, huh? What are you trying to say about my Steffi? No, she'll be here tomorrow because it's Family Friday, which means the lovely Stephanie Peterson will be here. Rare Camellia says, "Make commercials fun again." Yes, no kidding, right? Love to see it. Love to see Doug H. here with us today, as well as Chris Morrill, who survived through that Trump humpery. Poperoni, glad to have you here, brother. Nice to meet you this morning. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel as well. And come back and join us again tomorrow morning at the same time. We love to make friends. Hikaru K is here. Arigato gozaimasu. John Knox is here. Corey C. Doug H. Al Johnson. I might be repeating some of these, I'm not sure. Jamie Marie Pope was here with us today. I guess she's still a member of the Cantina crew. Corey C. is here as well, as lots of other friends over on the Cantina crew. Brian Lewis as well. Hi. Good to see you all here. Nelson65, Dual Wayne hooking us up with some help this week. We appreciate Dual Lauderdale. Ben here over on Rumble. The Zimbabwean on Rumble. Tea Party Patriot 2022 on Rumble. And all of our friends over there. 87 people watching now. I wish I didn't have to stop the stream, but I do have to go. Before I do, though, very, very briefly, if you haven't already, check out my apforlibertyshop.com website. We've got tons of great content, of great merchandise over there for you. If you're interested in economic freedom and personal liberty, check it out. We've got this hot selling item right now, and I've only got a limited inventory of my Donald Trump toilet brushes. People are like, what the hell is this Donald Trump toilet brush? I don't know. All I know is that people really love it, and I've only got a few of them. So head over to apforlibertyshop.com right now that the show is ending and get yourself a Donald Trump toilet brush. We've also got cool government shirts that a lot of people like as well. A bunch of funny ones, like the Caucasians shirt. That's like the team name, like the Washington Redskins, but instead it's white guys and the team's Caucasians. I'll see you tomorrow on Family Friday. Thanks for enjoying the show. Smash that like button before you go, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.